Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us back here at Luxxfolio's channel. We're sitting here once again with Dean. And Dean, you guys made it into a very interesting article, and I'd like to go over that with you today. But first off, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. It's a little rainy out here on the West Coast. I don't know if you've heard, but it's we're going to get washed away if we're not careful. So,
Oh, no, poor you. About to say it snowed here yesterday, so I really don't
oh,
want to
okay.
hear it. But
You
anyways,
trumped me.
yeah, you
Good.
guys landed in Vice. Okay, so this is an interesting article. It kicks off saying financial colonialism. A Bitcoin mine in the Navajo Nation flares tensions. And then they go to describe it as a Bitcoin mine run by a Canadian company, you guys, is the newest power customer in the Navajo Nation, where many residents live without basic utilities. So, first and foremost, Dean, just kind of walk us through your guys' relationship with the Navajo Nation.
You know what? I can't speak highly enough of the relationship that our group has formed with the Navajo. It's the nature of that really began when the utility there had a big industrial client go offline, and they had subsequently 15 megawatts of stranded power. And when we talk about stranded power, I think that's one of the things that the people that wrote the article really glaze over. When we're talking about stranded power, generally speaking, it's some type of industrial use, like a mine or a chemical plant or a smelter, something that uses a lot of power that for a variety of reasons has gone offline. It became outdated, it became uneconomical for whatever reason, and that power is still there. And that's the interesting thing about Bitcoin, is it allows power to be, if when it's stranded, Bitcoin can use that power. There's not a lot of other industries that can. When the mine is out of gold or silver or copper or zinc or coal or whatever it is, and it shuts down, that's, nobody's moving their car lot there, or they're setting up their hedge fund there. It's remote, and it's a long way away from people, generally speaking. So, the Navajo Utility Corp, worked with our guys, and we formed a great relationship. So the power that they're talking about would never be used or consumed by anybody else. You can't move power hundreds of miles without having it be degraded, and it becomes very expensive. So and other companies like Luxxfolio are utilizing stranded power around the world. So I think that, people really need to understand that power that is available, that is usable by a big population bases, we're not competing with that, and never will. We're not interested in that. So that is worthy of note. It's significant and important for people to understand what stranded power really is all about.
Yeah, I think that's important to understand here, is that this power would have never went towards that. It's not a game of scarcity of power here that is the problem. It's operations and logistics when it comes to distributing power to tons of people. So it really, essentially, it's turning something that was a negative into a positive. And I think that's kind of been lost in translation, at least in this a little bit here. So
and Bitcoin is solving that problem around the world. We were just fortunate enough to be able to be part of that solution.
yeah. And so from there, like you mentioned Bitcoin, like helping a lot of these problems around the world. Can you explain once again how Bitcoin actually helps people in marginalized groups, helps people, like for instance, in the Navajo Nation, who don't have as many opportunities, especially in the realms of banking and such?
Yeah, so it's interesting and tragic, really. I mean, there are groups around the world. In North America, we think about our First Nations people that are on land that they actually don't own. So if you extrapolate that out, I mean, when your home is on land that you can't own, you don't have a relationship with the bank all of a sudden, because the bank doesn't want to talk to you because you don't own any hard assets. You don't own any real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the situation for billions of people around the world. We happen to have 350,000 people in the Navajo Nation that can benefit from actually being able to own property. And when you come to learn about Bitcoin, you understand that it's digital property. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. You can have property. And when you start to get your head around, how that begins to sort of, work through the problems that we have on this planet with inequity, and all of a sudden I can own property and I can take it with me wherever I go, and it's mobile and I can move it and I can do all of these types of things. Suddenly, a lot of the issues that we've got in this country and others with inequity, they begin to. This is a technology that solves that, and I think that when people write articles about financial colonialism and that type of stuff, and the subject of it is Bitcoin, I'm not sure that you could miss the point any more than that. I'm not sure that you could whiff on an idea more than that, because the whole point, and I talk about it with you a lot, is that the whole point of getting involved in this is to leave the world a better place than we found it. And Bitcoin and the ecosystem that's being built around Bitcoin is a super important part of bringing us, getting us through the 21st century in a prosperous, healthy way.
Yeah, Dean, I agree. I felt like it wasn't exactly thought all the way through. When it comes to Bitcoin, it's one of the most egalitarian things that we currently got going on in the world to help push power back into the hands of the people. And
I think, and I think there's, when you look at the project that's going on down in El Salvador, and there's a reason why that was enthusiastically embraced. All of a sudden, you start to look at it, and it takes a while for you to get your head around it. What would the world be like if we weren't beholden to a bunch of dudes in Washington, D.C. deciding what our money is going to be like? And in fairness to them, they've got an impossible job, right? Because it's either like, who are we looking after? We're going to look after the asset holders or the savers. They have to make a choice between the two. They actually have to, like it's like holding two babies and you got to let one go, right? You got to decide between the two. I don't envy them at all to have that job, but they've made their choice, and it's left billions of people behind, right? So I think that Bitcoin goes to fix that, and we get out of bed every morning at Luxxfolio, and I'm sure all the other guys in the industry get out of bed, put their boots on, and go to work to sort of solve inequity, among other things. But I mean, I think when it comes to that Vice article, it's worthy of note that in that case it talks about inequity, and that's the whole purpose of Bitcoin. That's why it was developed in the first place, I believe.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say just very politely to Vice, I think you guys just kind of missed the mark here. We politely disagree. And we're open for further discussion as well. If you guys would like to open up discussion, we'd very happily hear anything you guys have to say. Maybe we can get you guys on a video and talk it out. But for now, Dean, thank you for coming on again. Any last words before we go?
No, Michael, stay warm. I'll stay dry.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you everyone for watching.
All right.
Stay tuned for more soon.